on the Muskegon channel. I am Andy O'Reilly. Dave Cackley is over there doing his thing. He's looking buff and beautiful, and wow,
Yep,
he's just
I
all
am.
that and a bag of chips. What do we got, Wednesday
Yes.
here?
Yeah, we are into Wednesday. Yes.
I have no comment on that.
Nothing?
No.
Yeah, nothing about Wednesday?
No, not really.
No.
Got a
You don't care?
I got a funeral to do the next couple of days.
Oh, really? What
Yeah,
happened?
well, my aunt passed away. My dad's youngest
Oh, that's
sister.
right. You know what? You told me about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bummer. It's she was 61.
That's too
Sad.
young.
Young grandkids. Another one on the way. Couple of dear cousins, and my Uncle Jim's really cool. And it's nothing anybody planned for, but you know when your time's up, it's up. And,
So this was a sudden thing? She hadn't been sick or anything?
out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. So
Wow,
we got
bad.
the visitation tonight and the mass tomorrow and all that kind of stuff. So, you know.
Well,
it sucks, you know. What do you do, you know?
yeah, there's no way when it's a sudden thing. It's different when it's weird. It's different when somebody's sick. As much as people talk about not wanting to. I don't want to be sick for a long time.
Right.
At the very least, people are able to prepare for it.
Yeah.
And you yourself, as somebody who's going through the stages, okay, you come to there are the stages,
right.
Denial, grief, acceptance, all that stuff. And there's something to be said for that. But when somebody goes like that and you're not expecting it, it's the shock to your system, the shock to the family and friends and relatives. It's harder, I think, to really kind of grasp.
The thing that's got me the most, and the thing that bothers me the most is my dad.
Yeah.
He's doing a little bit better, but I talked to my dad Sunday night, and he was telling me about it and everything. And he's the last one of his family left. His parents are gone. His brother died a few years ago, and now his sister's gone too. And when I talked to my dad on Sunday night, you could hear a change in the tone of his voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was it was a little vulnerable, and that kind of put me on alert a little bit. It's kind of like, oh man, now listen to the way his voice sounds. It's different, and you can pick up on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so you try to be there for your dad, and it's one of them things, man. Even those of us with the best of coping skills have feel like you get pushed out on the ice once in a while and have to kind of figure it out. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like all my uncles and aunts are long gone.
Yeah.
Like my mom was how many brothers and sisters did she have? I think she had 3 brothers. She was one of 5, and she was the youngest. She's the last one, and I've been going to funerals since I was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
So it's for me, I've always had just kind of all right, this is just part of the process for a long time.
Yeah, I know.
And it's one of those things. Some people, it's especially, I think, if you've got a bigger family and you're more used to dealing with it.
No.
I think it's hard to say it's easier, but I mean, you're just more accustomed to dealing with it. It doesn't make it less sad, but you're kind of more, I think, psychologically and mentally prepared.
Yeah. She was an awesome aunt. She was a lot of fun. They were a great family, and they still will be a great family. And it's just it's sad. It really is.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
All right, man. We got a job to do.
Let's do it. All right. Alec Manassian has been charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder after allegedly driving his van into a crowd in Toronto. 10 people were killed. Manassian also faces 13 counts of attempted murder for the 13 injured in the attack. The motive is still under investigation, but some interesting things have developed. Apparently, this guy may have been either a part of or connected to a group called Incel. Do you know what this group is?
I haven't heard of these guys.
No, they're involuntary celibates. Basically, they're sexually frustrated men who just rant against women.
Oh.
So I think it's still unclear if he was targeting just women in this,
Right.
But evidently they're like they have names for like Chads and Stacys. These are men and women who are very active sexually, and basically this group is just uh, jealous people who
Oh,
can't get laid.
just what we need.
Um, yeah,
More
it's
lunatics in the world.
just when you think there couldn't be other splinter, strange, crazy terrorist groups. We've got the sexually frustrated men of
Toronto.
incel. Yeah, I don't know if it's just a Canadian group, if it's a worldwide thing. Um, I never knew that like a sexual frustration that drove people to murder. It's an odd, if this is in fact true. It's bizarre to me.
Crazy.
I mean, there are ways to relieve those things. I mean, sure, you'll go blind, but still, six of one, half dozen of the other. That's all I'm saying. All right, what else is happening? The Michigan House approved a nearly $57 billion budget plan, increasing spending on school security and cutting funding for universities that fail to comply with sexual misconduct rules in the wake of the Larry Nassar scandal. The two spending measures cleared the Republican controlled chamber 71 to 36 and 66 to 41, mostly along party lines. Per student funding was also increased from 120 to 240. That's the largest increase in 17 years. So, a lot of stuff getting passed. We'll see what kind of impact it has. But I mean, when it comes to education, I mean, we spend more and more all the time. It's not like we're
Yeah.
not spending the money on education. I think the debate is always, where's it going? Who's it benefiting? I don't know, but I guess, it's a good thing. Security's
I
beefed
got an
up,
email
and
yesterday from Terry Sabo here in town that said he voted against it because of the spending in the what was in there, revenue sharing back to cities and stuff like that just wasn't in there that it needs to be, and that seems to be a big issue between the state and the cities and the municipalities around town, especially when it comes to things like revenue sharing with the state to help fund firefighters and police and things like that.
yeah.
He voted no on it because of the fact that he just doesn't think that the state's doing their part to help fund the cities and the municipalities around the state, and
I guess it goes.
Too.
Yeah, I get that. I think it goes to, okay, where are your priorities too? Is it the state and municipalities? And there's something to be said. Hey, we need to fund the firefighters. We need to fund these things within the city. And then you look at, okay, well, we also need to fund
Yeah.
we need more money for the students. So I can, once again, it's one of those issues I can see both sides of.
Yeah.
So I guess it's whatever team you're on, you're going to be either happy about this or think it sucks. So anyway, what else is going on? Medical marijuana, something you and I can both agree on. Dispensaries will be allowed in Muskegon. City commissioners approved an ordinance regulating the growth and sales of marijuana within city limits. There will be a no cap on the number of licenses approved. This will allow an unlimited number of dispensaries to operate inside a zone district off Seaway Drive. I believe Eggleston Township also approved this. And what other township in Muskegon approved? I want to say, I don't know if it was the Heights or not. I can't remember.
Not sure.
Muskegon Heights and
I read
Eggleston.
I know this. I read the headline this morning that the city commission gave it the okay, but yeah. I also wonder too if the billboard on Seaway Drive that said, "Hey, exit in Nunica," for there's a big, you're driving out of town now, and
yeah,
you remember where the radio station used to be there on Green Street,
right?
Yeah, the billboard just before that has got a big medical marijuana thing. It says all MMJ patients welcome. Exit in Nunica, and there you are. And dude, it's a tough debate, and there's a lot to be said about keeping kids off of it, and there's a lot to be said about people operating vehicles under the influence, or machinery or anything like that. It's just the tide is turned,
right?
You know what I mean? The national opinion of, and again, I'm not an advocate to say that kids ought to get their hands on it, and I'm not an advocate to say that people ought to be driving around under the influence and all this other kind of stuff. It's just the national opinion's changed.
Yeah. It's not demonized anymore. It's not. People are
and people are
kind
seeing the
of coming
reality of
around.
why it was demonized
Yeah.
over the years. It started off to kind of to paint Mexican people into a corner. To if you go back and look at the history of why marijuana, and I went to a talk that the ACLU put on a few weeks ago. Do you know that back in the Vietnam era, they made marijuana so illegal that if you used it and got caught,
Yep.
you couldn't get Section 8 housing.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
And
Yeah,
on
that was
top
a
of
big
that,
thing back in the 70s.
on top of that, if you had a marijuana conviction, this is marijuana we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had a marijuana conviction, you couldn't live with somebody that was in Section 8 housing.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, really? That's and then the administration admitted that's why they did that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just to control people and control population, and that's just silly.
In fairness,
go back to the prohibition of alcohol.
Yeah. Right.
Listen to this. Prohibition of alcohol. Here comes prohibition of alcohol. All right, nobody's going to get booze. We're going to sober the country up. Blah 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 blah. Did you know that there was a provision in prohibition back in the day that if you had alcohol in your house, it was okay. You could keep it and drink it at home as long as it was in your house and you already had it.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So, in other words, back in prohibition, if you were rich and had a basement full of booze, you're okay. Just drink it at home.
Or if you were making your own bathtub gin like they were doing back in the day, and people were dying of poisoning.
And bathtub gin and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It's silly. I'm not going to pretend to be a fan of the ACLU, but there's an interesting point there, and I get that. I also get like when it comes to like say Section 8 housing back in the 70s, what they're basically saying is, hey, we're the government, we're giving you this to live in. There are some stipulations you can't. I think marijuana. It's come on. I mean, it's marijuana. It's not crack. It's not cocaine. It's not
Keep it away
heroin.
From kids.
Yeah.
Don't drive around on it.
Yeah. And let me ask you this: do you think? I mean, we're come November, it's going to get legalized. You and I both know this. It's going to be on the ballot, and it's going to be legal recreationally in the state of Michigan. Yeah. I mean, I said,
I don't know if you know this or not, but I was watching a preview on something. And I think it's a interview that's coming out on HBO. They're talking about decriminalizing it at a federal level. Schumer was talking about it.
Yeah.
So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. I mean, we got when you got the harder drugs, and people always use the whole gateway BS, and it's garbage. It's garbage. Marijuana is not a gateway to anything except napping. I mean, let's be honest. So it's good that we're becoming reasonable, and whether it gets on the ballot or whether it's pushed through before then. And you and I have talked about that. We touched on it briefly. It would be the smartest move politically Republicans in the state could make if they pushed it through. If they just said, you know what, we're going to legalize it. Don't worry about putting it on the ballot. Don't worry if you're,
stay home, don't vote.
Stay home. Don't if you're on the left side of the aisle and this was your issue, feel free to kick back come November. So that's strategically, if I were a Republican strategist, I'd be like, let's pass this. Let's just push it. Let's just legalize it now. You've got control of both houses. So just do it.
Yeah,
that would just be smart.
And again,
it won't happen. It won't happen.
I am not for kids getting their hands on this.
Right.
I am not for people driving around.
Right.
Yeah.
No reasonable person would be, I think. Anyway, sports. Cubs win. They beat Cleveland 10-3. Detroit, Pittsburgh postponed due to inclement weather conditions. I assume rain. That's sports.
Big word for you, inclement. Way to go.
Inclement. There you go.
I will talk to you
word of the day.
mañana.
See ya.